And good afternoon. My name is Dan Rounds, and I am the coordinator of the Transition Services Liaison Project, and we are a part of Black Hills Special Services Cooperative. And we are going to host a teacher roundup this afternoon. And also with us is Doyle Sharon. It's our newest member of the TSLP team. And Dave Helverson, who covers the western part of the state. Bev Peterson is covering the southeastern part of the state. And I am going to turn it over to Cindy Kirschman, who is up in Aberdeen and works out of the Aberdeen office, covers the northeast part of the state. So go ahead and let me know when you want me to share the screen, Cindy.
Okay, well, you can actually share the screen now to go over our agenda. Alrighty, so welcome to our transition roundup. We've kind of changed it from teacher roundup to transition because we're really getting a nice mix of teachers along with VR counselors and the such, and so we really appreciate that. Excuse me. Dan, you can go to the next slide. Today for our agenda, we have a young gentleman who's going to be speaking to us about why students should go to YLF. However, I just got a message from him and he said something about he's got a school pickup at 3:10, so I'm not sure what that means, but we'll wait for him. But Denzel's going to talk to us. He's served in lots of different roles in YLF. Last month, we did our transition roundup on Division of Developmental Disabilities services and programs through them. And that turned out to be a really informational meeting. And we thought now what we would like to do is take it one step further and dig more into Family Support 360, which is a really, you'll see it individualized to each person's needs and interests and wants. So we have some, I'm going to share a PowerPoint my son did. As a consumer, we have a couple of families that will talk about their experiences. Denzel also is a provider for Family Support 360. He works with 4 gentlemen. And then we will have a coordinator on. So we should be able to get good information there. And then we'll just wrap up with any questions anybody must have. So Denzel, you can go to the next question. Or the next, there you go. Okay, I want Susie and Tim, are you on?
I'm on.
Susie, okay, alrighty, cool. So we can, so Dan, why don't we just go start at this slide and we'll come back to Denzel's once he jumps on, okay? So Bev, you want to take this?
Okay, yes. So last month, the Dakota at Home was mentioned a little bit. So just a brief recap, I guess. Dakota at Home is South Dakota's Aging and Disability Resource Center, which provides free information, referral, and assistance to individuals regardless of age, disability, income, or resources. Dakota at Home, it is a free phone referral service. It's an easy way to locate resources to help people remain in their home. And it's designed to assist people with disabilities and aging individuals and caregivers. But the first step is calling this number to access services. So might want to jot that down, or maybe you can get a poster or some kind of card that has it on, and you can put it somewhere that you'll easily be able to access it.
And then when you call that number, go to extension 2. for Jessica. All right, thanks. All right, thanks, Bev. All right, so we can go on to the next one. So family support is, like we said, a program through Division of Developmentally Disabled, which broadens opportunities with people with DD across the lifespan, from birth to death. And there's the link to go to their brochure as family support. I wanted to just take a minute. My son has been on the family support program since the inception of it. I mean, it's kind of started out years ago, 30 years ago, maybe 25, where they were looking for people that may be interested in being a part of the program. So for one conference one time, he did a little PowerPoint of what he's experienced through Family Support 360 or plans. So you can see this now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to I should have drug him in here and had him do this, but he's eligible for the program because he has a cognitive impairment. After completing the paperwork, then he sat down with his family support coordinator and told her what he wanted and what he liked and what he needed in his life to remain living at home as independently as possible. It's totally was his choice as to who assists him in implementing the plan. At that time, we had a close friend who was a college student at Northern, and he asked Megan if she would be his provider. They did lots of Northern things together. Then he wanted to learn on his driver's exam, so he found a woman who would work with him on that. So the person can pick their own, they're more or less kind of hiring the person to do the work with them. He had a VR. He was successfully closed through the voc rehab, and there was still a little bit more supports that he needed on and off. So his job coach through VR actually did some follow-up with him through the family support program on employment, so he could utilize someone to help him work through some minor problems. Also, the program continues to provide him with transportation tickets so he can go back and forth to work independently. As you'll see in the PowerPoint, we tried the driver's license, but it didn't quite work out the way we wanted. So here it is. Barb came to the house and worked with driver's ed on him. He studied with her every week until she felt that he was ready. He went and took his test. He passed his test. Then through family support, then we had somebody work with him and teaching him how to drive. Well, he wasn't comfortable with it. The gentleman working with him wasn't comfortable either. So he decided to give up the idea of driving for the moment. Some things with independent living. He got a pizza maker. Somebody worked with him to be more comfortable at the stove. He got a big pot holders. Oh, here we go. Got a pizza maker, a weather radio, laptop. These are the things that he wanted and asked for. Oven mitts. You got a George Foreman grill because he was uncomfortable working in the oven. Some computer software programs that helped him with money and different other skills. Also a fire extinguisher. He also got a membership, a yearly membership to our local Y one year. He liked the program when he was a little bit younger because he can participate in activities in the community with other people and not just always me. He had gone to Northern plays, like I said, to the movies, horseback riding, shopping. He wanted to go out to eat. He'd call Megan. They'd go out to eat. They'd go out to Wiley Park. And membership program. Also, therapeutic horse rides through family support. They pay for his yearly membership on that. You know, this PowerPoint was about 7 years ago. He still continues to live at home, but I'm thinking now, because of the family support program, when and if he does move out on his own, he's really gained a lot of skills through the current provider he has, working on going shopping, making meals, doing laundry, doing the lawn work. I can come home and my house can be clean a lot, but he's learning those skills that he needs, and he feels he needs to know them if he's to go out on his own. So that's kind of Preston's experiences with what he's had from family support. Totally, you know, he didn't want the Y membership after that first year, so they canceled that and they went with something else. So very individualized. We have a couple of parents on that I'm going to turn it over to that can share their experiences with the family support also. So Susie, I'm so glad you joined. You can tell us a little bit about us, about yourself, and then just tell us your experiences with the programming.
Sure. All right. Well, my name is Susie, and I'm sorry for my background. I'm at work.
Oh, that's okay.
I work for an HVAC company, and I handle the indoor air quality and the radon division. So Zachary is my child, who is now 16. He has been involved with family support since we moved to South Dakota in, let's see, I think he was 4 or 5. And what is extremely critical for our family with family support is Zach is one of 5 children. He fits right in the middle. So my children are 18, 17, and then Zach 16, 15, and 11. So with having a child with special needs, it's critical to have an advocate with our family support person. And we talk all the time. And some of the things that Zach has received for help, and I have received for help, would be respite care. Zachary has always had a para in school and was really attached to a para that he had in elementary school. And so she actually became a nanny to me, and she would take Zachary just to amazing places throughout South Dakota with camping. She also has a passion for history, and Zachary loves anything that has to do with World War I, World War II, the Civil War, and as well, he loves, aircraft. So family support has helped us by getting passes for the parks, and passes for, like, down in Omaha, there's a Air and Space Museum. And we've traveled to Duluth, and we got our passes to go on the tall ships. They come every 3 years, so Zach got to go on the tall ships. Locally, Zachary is able to participate in going to the Prairie Lakes Wellness Center, so he can play basketball with his siblings and friends and just be in the community. We also have gotten movie passes. So of course I have older children, and they can drive. And so without mom, they are able to go to the movies, or I just drop them off when they were younger, but still able to go to the movies by themselves. I would drop them off. Let's see, other things. Zachary needs some particular shoes that have, basically Velcro strap. And so he loves to play basketball. And what's awesome is for him to have tennis shoes that are, LeBron. So they're very cool Nike tennis shoes, but he doesn't have to feel embarrassed in front of his friends. because he has the Velcro. In fact, quite the opposite. They're very popular shoes. So I'm very appreciative of that as well. He's gotten an iPad. It really helped him along the way in learning a huge amount of history. I think he could probably teach the class in school just right along with his teachers, because he knows so much history about the world wars. And let me think. Otherwise, Zachary also is the type 1 diabetic, and so family support has been extremely helpful in paying some medical supplies that our insurances don't cover. He has both private insurance and then Title 19 insurance, but some of the things like the Dexcom and the Omnipod that he's on, it doesn't cover everything. So it's just really, really wonderful that they will help with that kind of thing. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about what it's like to have special needs or whatever. I mean, Zachary he's 16, it's been a journey for sure, especially having so many children, and then my other children not having any kind of disability. So it's been a challenge, but definitely worth the journey.
Susie, this is Cindy. So how did you become familiar with the Family Support 360 program?
Let's see. To be honest with you, Zachary was diagnosed with diabetes and hypothyroidism and autism all within a couple years of each other. And then add to that, we moved from Montana to South Dakota, and we were in the process of adopting a child from Haiti. And then the earthquake in 2010 happened. So we had a lot of drama going on all at the same time. And I was pregnant with number 4. So I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh, that's okay.
Julie Miller was our first advocate, and I just was kind of calling everybody in Watertown because I was new to the community and I just needed help because I was so in over my head with everything. And someone connected us and away we went. And I've just been so thankful ever since.
Yeah, as you can all see, I mean, anything from oven mitts to seeing the big ships in Duluth, Minnesota. I
Right.
mean, to helping with some insurance, to riding horseback. It's so open. We do have, I'm sorry, I lost my screen here. I don't think Tim, the other gentleman, is on yet. He's the one that had to run and get, pick up his kids from school. But we have Denzel on, who Denzel has worked as a provider, right, Denzel? Are you there?
Oh, yeah, I was on mute.
Okay. Denzel is a friend of the Transition Project, as he has helped us with lots of different programming and stuff. But his job is working as a provider for Family Support 360. So Denzel, tell us about, don't give out names or anything, but the people that you work with and what you do with them and how you do that. We'll let Denzel talk a little bit, and then we'll come back and ask questions.
Well, like you were saying earlier, Cindy, it's very individualized, so it kind of depends on the person, and what they need. For instance, I have one person, I basically just run errands with them because they're more key to themselves. But then some of my other people, I kind of alternate between, more out doing stuff more out and about. For example, somebody I'm going to see tomorrow, most likely she's going to want to go to McDonald's and then Target and or Walmart. That's sort of my Thursday afternoons right there. I just got done with one of my other guys, helping, basically, I guess you could say supervising him cleaning his apartment. because he knows how to do it. It's just having someone there to kind of act like a prompt when need be. And we even here in Aberdeen, we got the Red Rooster Coffee House. We even went there for a bit, so he can get his root beer float. One of his most favorite things to get, root beer float.
Right. You've gone bowling with some of them?
Yep. And that brings me, it's a good segue. Like, I also, like, some of my people, I kind of do like a group outing on the weekends. You know, because some of the people I have, well, actually most people I have are more willing to go do stuff with some of my other people too. And it was actually one of the coordinators work for that's just the idea, and it works out really well. Then it had, kind of amplifies the effect for everybody. There's even more socializing rather than just always one-on-one with me.
Right.
So yeah, it's real, like you were saying, it really depends on the person. And then I got like one guy that all I do is the group stuff basically because, well, he still lives at home, so mom and dad kind of cover a lot of the other stuff.
Okay.
At least for now, but
yeah. So you're working with how many?
As of recently 5. It was 6, but now one of my people is going to end up moving to Redfield, as odd as it sounds, to get more services.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but mind you, this is somebody that basically needs 24/7 assistance.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So you have 5 gentlemen you work with? How did you get involved with this?
Well, my mom and I heard about this autism support group meeting that meets like once a month. I can't remember the name of it, but basically I decided to go there just to see what it's like. And then it turned out, I talked about my story and stuff like that. And of course, TSLP. And it turned out one of the people that was at that meeting was one of the coordinators who then mentioned this job because I was transitioning from, I was transitioning out from Kessler's to different work. And then she mentioned, well, if you're enjoying doing that kind of stuff anyways, getting out and about with other people, socializing, helping people with disabilities, it's like, well, that sounds like a good job for you. And so she gave me some information, some other people to contact there for as far as coordinators. And then slowly but surely, I've been building up a good repertoire of people.
They can fire you if they want, right? I mean, or Preston could fire who he has now if he wasn't pleased with her. That's kind of totally up to them. But yeah, like I said,
yeah, it's kind of like I was saying, that one person I have, I guess in some ways you could argue that, but only because, this is somebody who needs a lot more service than like this kind of organization. And then and then I had somebody else too that let me go. It's like, but that was like, that's more of an anomaly too, because, it was less about me and more about basically, long story short, we're in a really polarizing time and that just really gets to him. And then and constantly hearing about the coronavirus, that just, after a while, it just really grates on a person.
Yeah. And I didn't mean they can fire you, but provider can be, the consumer can say, I don't want to work with this person anymore. I want to work with somebody different. And they have that right. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. Okay. We're going to hold your thoughts, Denzel. I'm going to ask another person that jumped on here, Denica, who is a teacher at School for the Deaf, but she also has her child on the Family Support 360. So Denica, can you share with us what you've experienced through family support?
So I first learned about it, I don't know, 15 years or so when I started teaching special education. I had a student that was already on the program, and one of our meetings, one of her casework managers came to the meeting. And so I worked with her for a lot of years, and got a lot of other students on the program, and just getting them things at home that obviously insurance won't cover. That varied. I know they don't do trampolines anymore, but I had one student get a trampoline for exercise equipment in the home, iPads for not just for communicating, but for learning apps. A lot of them had the communication devices, so that helped with some of them. One family got a van. They had the van, and then they were able to get the lift put in it. And then I had my own daughter who had special needs, and she's the youngest of 5 children. And so I was spending money galore on all these therapy toys that all the therapists would come in and have. I'm like, oh, I want those every day. And so I finally applied for it, and she was able to get on the program. So I sometimes forget about it because I don't have a case manager because we're on state level, not local level. But one big thing we got last summer, she got an adapted tricycle, and that was close to $500. She has cerebral palsy and epilepsy, but we were able to get that. She has to have special shoes and lifts put on it, on her shoes, and insurance will only cover 1 pair every so often. And having a child with only 1 pair of shoes to wear, they wear out really easy. So we've have been able to get an extra pair of shoes for her. We're in the process of getting her into therapeutic riding, and hopefully we can get some of that paid for. And then now this is before when I taught in the reservation, but now I work for South Dakota School for the Deaf. So getting a lot of our hearing kiddos on the program and getting them devices for communication at home.
Thanks, Danica. Tim, are you on yet? I don't see Tim yet. I don't think so. So I'm going to ask Jason. Jason Hill is a coordinator for Family Support 360. Lots of good stuff can come from Family Support 360, and it does. And I mean, these 3 people totally are attest to that. But so how does a person get connected with Family Support 360? Can you give us that?
Sure, I can try. It is kind of a more of a task now than what it has been in the past. I do believe if you would call the helpline for our DSS, that, I mean, they would give you the referral. But I always direct people to the State of South Dakota website, where it has the list of all the family support coordinators. And then it's just a matter of contacting a coordinator within your area, where they can send you out the application for their agency. However, there are more coordinators that work for different agencies within a region. And because we don't have a specific pool that we're pulling applicants from, most of the time I tell folks when they call and apply that I will try to pass their information on to other coordinators that cover the area, because most of the time we are full, or we might just have 1 or 2 spots open. So we try amongst ourselves to distribute those applications. But again, I would say the easiest way is just to go direct people to the Division of Developmental Disabilities website that has the coordinator list, because there are quite a few of us now. I'm also a parent of family support and started back in same time my child got in 2003. So I've been around a while with that too. Again, and all coordinators, like I just referenced them and contact a coordinator. All our coordinators, I mean, we're here to help out folks and do the jobs. So we'll get them on as quickly as we can, or try to get them in the right direction. So
Good, thanks, Jason. When we bring up the PowerPoint again, we can bring up that website, because I think that link that was on there is to the coordinators. But does anybody have any questions for Susie or Denzel Danica or Jason at this time. Susie needs to head off in a few minutes, so I thought if you have any questions for her.
I have a question. I'm Nikki Whiting, and I'm an administrator with the Sioux Falls School District, and we connect a lot of families to family support. So my question is for Jason Hill. I know we have a long wait list with all of a lot of the family support providers. Is there any talk of adding more providers to decrease that wait time?
That is done on a state level, and I am not, I'm representing my agency's benchmark, so I'm just one of many coordinators in the state. The administration of family support by adding new coordinators is done by the Division of Developmental Disabilities, and that's through Medicaid funding. So when they do add on new coordinators, they approach, because every coordinator has to work underneath an agency that's a Medicaid provider. So we are all basically employees of places like Lifescape, LifeQuest. They submit that to those agencies as a bid to take on new coordinators. But we're not privy to what the status is of those at that time, or what the wait lists are. I think every point of the state has a wait list. And obviously, since I think part of this is just the population boom of the state. Like 12 years ago, there was, I think, 10 coordinators, and now there's over 30. So, I mean,
Do you know who we would talk to?
Yeah, it would actually Division of Developmental Disabilities. Jay Solers is the administrator of the Medicaid Waiver Program for family support.
Okay, my computer's going to restart. I just got a box that popped up because my computer's going to be restarting.
Okay.
So I'll be right back.
Okay. All right.
Jay,
We can bring
let's
up
see.
that website too. Okay.
Oh, Jay, Dave Culverson here. Is there like a family support council or an advisory council where people
Yes.
could maybe share
Yep.
thoughts that way?
Yeah, Family Support Council, which is that is a council of family members, people who receive family support. They meet once a month. They're basically the oversight of the program. So they get detail about waiting lists, where if we're adding any services, we're, adjusting anything that is brought to the council. They meet on like I said, a monthly or a bi-monthly basis, depending on their schedule. With that, often we are always invited to Zoom in on those meetings to participate, and almost anyone can, as a member of the public, can attend those meetings because they're open public session meetings for family support. And their link is on the division website as well for the Family Support Council.
Thank you, Jay.
So Jay, I work with two people that are on Family Support Council in my building. If we were, that lady from Sioux Falls could even give that suggestion to Family Support Council people, and they could take it.
Yep.
Okay.
Cindy,
Alrighty. Yes.
I might be wrong, but one thing that my experience anyways, obviously the people who work for the program are going to know better than me, but the family support, there usually is a waiting list, but then the statewide, which formerly was called statewide family support, now it's called Strengthening Families Program, that there usually isn't any waiting list, and they can still at least start to get some resources from them. I mean, the funding sources are a little different, and you can't get as much on the Strengthening Families Program like you can the family support, but I always have my families apply to the Strengthening Families first, because that is much easier to get on, and then apply for the local level and wait. And then when they do finally get up to get on local level, which is the family support, then they just go off of the Strengthening Families Program and join the family support. So I don't know if that's something that should be shared with families.
And I do know of a family that inquired into that. However, for her child, he was older, and the main thing she wanted was companion care. And through the Strengthening Families, the statewide companion care wasn't available. But I mean, if a family needs things and supplies, definitely go through that. Thank you, Danica. Does anybody else have any information they would like to share as far as knowing people that have been on family support? I was going to bring up that page that hold on just a minute. I'm not very good at this here. Through. Here is the Division of Developmental Disabilities with their different programs across going down the sides. But here's the family support one. And here, Family Support 360 Coordinator has all of the coordinators listed from throughout the state and what counties they cover. But I think like Jason said, if you contacted anybody, any of the coordinators, they'd be able to help you. So, all right. Okay, well, if there's not any other questions, here, if there is more than one provider or coordinator in an area, is it okay to apply with both?
Yes, and I encourage it. I tell families all the time, you know, we do try to get them to strengthening families, but a lot of times their needs can't be met by the Strengthening Families program. The biggest thing with family support is that we have a Medicaid waiver, so the child can receive South Dakota Medicaid under our program, regardless of the parent's income. So that is one of the biggest benefits. So when folks are applying, looking for that help, it's most of the time they need that supplemental Medicaid because they're going to therapies, to Lifescape. They need, you know, really expensive medical equipment, or, you know, just a whole gamut of different things. So that's the reason why we try to, you know, when we talk with someone, we're assessing their need, and most of the time I'm trying to get them onto a local program just because, you know, they're calling because they need something, you know, for that type of situation. And, you know, that Medicaid coverage does help with that a lot. So that's where we go with that. And it's okay. You can, with family support, you can have your coordinator. If you want to switch a different coordinator, you can. So it's the same type of emphasis. The person directs the services, the supports, and who is working for them. So when I have someone call, I'll try to get their app to other coordinators in the area, but I always tell families, yes, call other coordinators if you want and talk with them. Maybe they have a spot open, or maybe they can get you out quicker as well. Because like, again, I said, you know, I'm in the Aberdeen region, there's 5 of us here, and between all of us, we all work for 4 different agencies. So, you know, we do have a soundboard we communicate off of, but often, you know, we're off busy handling our own caseloads. So, yeah.
Another cool thing I thought with family coordinators, the majority of them all are generally parents of individuals who have disabilities. So they've got that lived experience of dealing with people with disabilities. So that's pretty special. Then you got Denzel, who's a provider, who's a person with a disability providing services, which is even super special. So kind of cool.
And I think also, I mean, because this is more of a transition forum, kind of what we're going on. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Is that, you know, I do a lot. I have many individuals that are living in their small communities successfully with companion care and employment supports. I have individuals that have started their own businesses because they live in a small rural area and have decided, you know what, I'm just going to start. I have one person that's growing vegetables, and basically that's his job, is selling vegetables. And so, you know, with the supports we connected with him, we have family members and friends that are his employment providers and the companion care providers and personal care. So it's, a lot of times that question of what's happening after school, now family support, we can really cater, outside the box of, what can we do to support that person if they want to stay living in Hayti or wherever, small town they're in. Before it used to be, you had to go move to a big city, to an agency to try to get all these opportunities. But now we've been able to kind of craft those more to keep them in, their place where they want to live. So.
Good conversation. Does anybody else have any questions or anything else to add on the Family Support 360 program?
This is Dan, Cindy, and I guess Jay or anyone, is there a financial limitation to what a family income can be before someone can participate, or is it all based on the student or
Yep.
individual?
Yep, it's all just based off, we basically go off the child's income if they're under age 18. So it's basically like we're applying for Medicaid just with, John Smith's income instead of his parents. And then it does flip over naturally when they turn an adult. It's on the same standard requirements as SSI. So our eligibility is run through DSS. And usually when we get into adulthood, 18 and over, DSS just runs the eligibility and incompatibility with SSI and just sends us the eligibility verification every year. But they still have the, the income guidelines as SSI for that 18 and over. 18 and under, we never have to report any income. Obviously, if the child does possess income, like inheritance or something like that, that does count against them. So often, when we do put a new person on as a young child, we have to verify there's no like land in their name or property, just things like that, just to make sure that it's nothing that can count against as resources for them. But once they're on, that's the same thing we go through just every year until age 18.
We have another question here, and this will outside of the transition ages, but this is good though. What are some different items or opportunities for families ages 3 to 6 through family support? A lot people have talked about wanting iPads for communication apps, but what are some other examples family support has done for other students ages 3 to 6? I know of a family who needed diapers for a long period of time.
Yeah.
The family support program purchased their diapers for them and special formula.
And we don't do diapers and wipes anymore because Medicaid has taken that over completely as its own entity. So we don't even do incontinence supplies anymore. It's still under Medicaid, but now you have to have a Medicaid number in order to get that through. It's like a DME equipment now. But ages 3 to 6, I've done everything from a lot of sensory items for autism spectrum, like indoor trampoline. We can do weighted blankets, pressure vests, sensory clothes, sensory chewers. I've done a lot for folks in that age range. A lot of times too, it's even things like paying for their ARC pass to go to take a class at the ARC. We can pay for that. And, I had one where the sister doesn't do as good, but the other sister attends. So we were able to pay for her and her sister to attend the class. So she has that natural support and she actually attended the ARC class and enjoyed it. So we've done things like that. Swimming passes.
Respite care, Jason?
Out in the community.
Would parents be able to get respite care?
Yes, and of course, respite care. Yep, respite care. And that is, it's Medicaid funds. So the family hires their own providers. We don't have staff. It's a co-employer agreement. So the parents are the bosses. They set the schedule. They decide the wage and the hours worked. We do have certain guidelines we have to follow because of Medicaid and Department of Labor. But the parents basically run with it. Coordinators are there to cut the check for like respite care and, make sure everything's in place. But we really leave that up to the family to arrange for, that respite care provider to watch whenever, and they turn in the hours. And, you know, we check in at least a minimum every 3 months if things are going fine, just to make sure everything's okay. But yeah, it's totally supposed to be driven by the family as far as like respite care and companion care and all that as well. So.
Cool. Any other questions for, I think Susan jumped off, but Denzel, Jason, Danica?
Maybe one for Jay, just a quick one. If somebody decides they would like to receive more intensive or extensive services when they approach adulthood, how does that work? Is family support kind of a gateway or?
Yeah, and I've done it in the past. Usually, like if I have a family support client that is looking to, say, move to an agency, we actually aid in that process. And it's basically just because we already do all the paperwork, the same as like Aspire or any agency does for an adult coming into services. So it's a pretty seamless process. Their biggest task for them is to choose a case manager, because case managers are now independent of the agencies. So they basically have to decide who their new case manager is going to be. And then we just transfer all the information to that case manager and they do the intake process with the agency. But it's pretty seamless and goes pretty quick. We've done it within like 5 days, transferred someone in who wanted to go to a CSP. Because it's a pretty, like I said, we share almost the same information across the board as far as requirements and everything. So
Thank you, Jay.
you're welcome.
Thanks. Okay. So I think we'll back up in our program now to Denzel. Dan, if you could put the PowerPoint up to show all the little labels, names, or codes he's had from YLF or jobs, and we'll get him going.
And let's see, it's my privilege to introduce Denzel to the group, although he's already talked a little bit. Let's see, most of you are probably very familiar with the Youth Leadership Forum. It's an annual event, about 5 days. We've been at Northern State in Aberdeen for a little over 10 years, I think. And it really is a place where we see leaders develop. Let's see, just back from the State Voc Rehab Conference, and there were a couple of alumni of the Youth Leadership Forum who are actually now our peers. So that's exciting when we've worked with these folks as delegates, high school students, and they go on to become very successful and gain employment in the disability field. Denzel is a graduate of Bowdle High School. He also has a bachelor's degree from Northern. He earned that cum laude. And as he told us earlier, he's currently working for the family support program as a provider. I know he's had some other employment things that he's done in the past, and it's been my pleasure to help, or I don't know if it's always help, but observe transition journeys for students like Denzel, and there's many things that students like Denzel typically go through and learn from. With Denzel, kind of the process for folks is to first apply for and become or be selected as a delegate or a participant in the Youth Leadership Forum. And for those delegates who demonstrate some good leadership potential, we then try to encourage them to reapply to become an assistant team leader. And in that position, they're helping the current crop of delegates to, feel at ease, to be able to participate fully in the program. And Denzel helped with that. He then became a team leader, where he's more responsible for implementing the program of the Youth Leadership Forum with a group of 10 students on a pretty much an hourly basis for anywhere from 15 to 18 hours per day, did great with that. And then Denzel also served as a mentor. With our mentors, those would be people who have kind of gone through the other stages, and they come back and help support the other leaders to implement the programming of YLF. In addition, Denzel's been a presenter for us, and he has also been a karaoke guest, something that I was never invited to do. But with that, Denzel, would you like to tell a little bit more about some of the things that you remember from YLF?
All right, sure. Thanks for that intro. Where do I even begin?
How about when you first became a delegate, or what that process was like when you were thinking about applying?
Well, I remember one day my mom mentioned this program to me, and I just was like, okay, it sounds interesting. So then I applied and got accepted. And then, but it's like, I can't remember if it was either after or beforehand, but then Dan and Cindy came to my school, and then they were talking to me about the program and stuff, and then my leadership and things along those lines. So then as I got accepted as a delegate, I started to to really branch out more because, well, not surprisingly, for a really small town, there isn't much. And,
Let's see. So one of the things that we do, I know with the YLF, is to try to get people connected with different agencies. So were there any agencies working with you when you were in high school?
Not really. I was kind of one of those people kind of in that awkward middling point, like, again, because it's in part because it's a small town. And then I actually was kicked off my IEP when I was 15 because I was told I was too qualified, even though I clearly have other issues. And that's the good thing about finding out about some of these other agencies and programs, that it's not simply based on, okay, if you get good grades in school, which I did, then therefore you don't have any problems, which is clearly not true in my case.
Okay. And I did mention a little bit about some of those bumps on the roads. Are there any agency people that you worked with that you still remember or keep in contact with?
Apart from the ones that I'm talking to right now, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. From Voc Rehab, from time to time, I still run into Mike Haig. That was, Voc Rehab was one of the things that when I got done with college and stuff really helped me transition into finding something in the workforce, and in kind of an indirect way, it led to where I'm at now.
Okay. And let's see, and I know that you've been recognized by the YLF leadership team for some of your accomplishments. Can you share a little bit with the group, maybe about some of the awards? Or?
Oh, sure. Like one of the awards you're referring to, the Richard L. Hicks Award for leadership. Well, that was, for one thing, for how much I've participated throughout, throughout YLF, the past 10 years now, it has to have been. That was one. I think that was, I remember that was one of the big ones. And then and I always, it's like, and then when I was doing like when I was on the one of the leadership teams, I'd always make a point to go to the reunions,
And
May just
Denzel,
be one.
on the PowerPoint, there was a picture of you in Chelsea with a plaque. Did you win your team leadership?
Oh yeah. Yes, but that's two different pictures. That plaque with Chelsea, that's the Richard L. Hicks Award.
Oh, okay.
The Team Leadership Award, yes, I did win that.
Okay.
And
which,
let-
which was kind of strange because it's like, I wasn't exactly, like the most out there person, or I guess you could say active and like, but then again, I guess that kind of, reaffirms a point that really runs through YLF that, it may, just because you're not a leader in the more formal sense doesn't make you, any less of a leader.
Okay, Denzel, let's see, I know one of the things that we really like to see when we have delegates participate in YLF is maybe making some lifelong friends. Have you been able to establish any long-term relationships through YLF?
Absolutely. And I mean, every year, I still make a point to go to Vermillion to see my best friend Benedict, whom actually was my roommate when I was a delegate. So, and I have a bunch of other people that I still keep in contact with, like Matt, the tech guy, for instance. I could go on about the different people I keep in touch with, but you get the point. But to answer your question, yes.
Did you have many friends in the little community where you grew up?
No.
Because you were okay. Denzel, we
Yeah,
have a question. Can Denzel tell us what type of programs or supports there are for students who do get good grades, but maybe have some behavioral or social issues? What type of a program is there for students, or what would you encourage?
I realize I sound like I'm plugging for my job here, but FAM 360, and I remember one of my previous jobs when working at BCS. That was also a really good one too, because I remember during my time there, I worked with kids that intellectually they did, some of them did fine, but it's more of the behavioral stuff. Because that's one thing I like about stuff like BCS and FAM 360, that it's not centered on just the academic stuff. And not just because in FAM 360's case, you got a lot of people that have already aged out of the school system, that there's a lot more focus on like the day-to-day things, learning how to, socialize in a healthy way.
Denzel, just a quick question. When you were in high school, you talked about being kicked off your IEP. Were you then on a 504 plan, or were you just kind of on your own, or do you recall?
More on my own.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just basically about the only services that were there were just like one sped teacher, and that's it. Because like I come from a town of like 500 people, and there really wasn't much, knowledge, or I guess to a lesser extent you could say concern about people with disabilities out there. And it's kind of like my mom said, given the time period I grew up in, I end up doing more trailblazing because of that lack of awareness. Whereas like you got kids now that even in these tiny towns, there's so much more connection. And it kind of connects to what Jason was saying about, now you don't have to move to a bigger city in order to get the proper supports.
Okay, good. Say,
Denzel, would you share what
just-
your disability is?
Well, I'm on the autism spectrum.
Okay.
Which is why my facial expressions look so awkward and a little derpy, but I guess what do you do?
I have a comment to make. Denzel, I think you're probably one of the biggest cheerleaders we have about students should go to YLF, and that's why I asked you to come on. But when Denzel, I remember a comment Denzel made, and this was 10, 12 years ago probably, as he's sweating away from dancing all night long at our dance the night before YLF was over. And his comment was, I have talked to more people my own age in this week than I have in my entire life. And that's kind of a profound statement if you think about that. that a young man living in a small community, you know, has talked to more people his own age in 1 week at YLF than he did growing up in the community. So why should kids come to YLF? We're about out of time.
Well, remarks like that are a big reason, you know, and it's also a lot easier to meet people that, you know, don't just fit in the same exact kind of lifestyle as everybody else. Cause like where I come from, there were basically 3 things that mattered and nothing else, basically: sports, farming, and country music. If you didn't get into any of those things, you were on the bottom of the food chain. So, whereas with programs like YLF, and of course also being in a bigger town, you know, you get people that don't necessarily agree with that, you know, like that are maybe more into like, you know, geeky kind of stuff, the more artsy things, you know, that basically just weren't looking to be born and died farmers, which is basically the entire town of Bowdle. Yeah. I mean, like my best friend, I mean, he's really big into like European cultural kind of stuff. And and in key part because his dad is actually an immigrant, he actually goes over to Hungary every year. You know, you don't hear about that very often.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, Denzel, thanks a lot for joining us today and talking about Family Support 360 and YLF and why kids should go. Okay, thanks.
Anytime.
Cindy, I wanted to share this again, just so that we had the deadline for delegate applications. Leader applications are due November 30th, and our delegate applications are due on December 23rd. And we will, once applications come in, then we'll go out and do the interviews with the students. Go ahead, Cindy.
I think Doyle's got the last slide and then we're done. Well, Dan, you want to just finish it up?
Well, sure. Again, here's the deadlines for our applications. And our next teacher roundup then will be on January 26th, again at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we will have a YLF gathering. It's kind of the alumni gathering for students that attended on December 27th in the evening. And we will have several Let's Talk Work events that will be coming up. They're one-day workshops for high school students that are transitioning and planning to go on to an employment arena and somewhere in their life. And so we're just encouraging students to come. We usually have staff from different agencies talk about the supports that they provide to our youth that are planning to go into employment. Usually have an employer or 2 or 3 attend, talk about things they look for in their employees as they hire. And anyway, we'll have those posted on the tslp.org website. And if there's anything else, Cindy?
Nothing, but thank you for attending.
Thank you.
And if anybody has any ideas of what they'd like for topics, please shoot them our way. We're starting to run out of ideas. So we welcome your ideas.